Why not try something smart to chew on? The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday, March the 26th, 2024, and this is program number 1152 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to radio, 101.1 FM radio, you can get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com, rcistlucia.com, and you can also get our previous shows in podcast form on that website as well. You can also stream us live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to share that as well with your friends and family. If you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also message in to our WhatsApp number. That number is 724-0008. Again, you want to call in on WhatsApp or message in. The number is 724-0008. Now, some birthday wishes for today going out to Mr. Cassius. Happy birthday to you, sir, and we're hoping that you're having a wonderful birthday celebration. And also sending birthday greetings to Miss Tekla Augustine. Happy birthday to you, and wishing you an absolutely wonderful birthday as well. Some interesting people are celebrating their birthdays today around the world. You have Diana Ross. And she is, in fact, turning 80 today, believe it or not. That is a remarkable age for her. And so we wish her certainly a happy birthday on that achievement. It's also the birthday of American entrepreneur, computer scientist. And we know him all around the world because we use his platform called Google. And it is the birthday of Larry Page, and he turns just 51 today. Very gray-haired 51, but still very, very young indeed. And former House Speaker in the United States, Nancy Pelosi, it's her birthday today as well, and she turns 84, believe it or not. I had no idea that she was in her 80s, but she's 84. And you would never believe it. So certainly a great achievement as well there. A bit of history for today. In the year 1812, an earthquake measuring 7.7 on the Richter scale destroyed 90% of the city of Caracas in Venezuela and killed an estimated 15 to 20,000 people. So that was a significant blow during that time. In 1871, municipal elections bring revolutionaries to power in Paris, who formed the short-lived Paris Commune government. 1909, on this day, in support of Muhammad Ali Shah's coup d'etat against the constitutional government in Persia, a Russian military force invaded northern Persia to relieve the siege of Tabriz. In the year 1942, the first Eichmann transport to Auschwitz and the Birkenau concentration camp started rolling on this day. Of course, a very sordid part of history, of World War II history. Those extermination camps established by the Nazi government there. In 1953, Dr. Jonas Salk announced that he successfully tested a vaccine to prevent polio, and clinical trials began the following year. 1966, on this day, a large-scale anti-Vietnam protests took place in the United States across many cities, including New York, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. And in 1971, on this day, in Bangladesh, then still known as East Pakistan, under Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, declared its independence from Pakistan. We now move on to our dish of the day. The Daily Dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also glass, glassware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Grozile, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back and good afternoon to all our listeners out there, whether they're on radio or online. We do hope that you're having a pleasant day and, of course, a good lunch. Now, as mentioned yesterday, we began talking a little bit about it. The Prime Minister, who's also the Minister of Finance, he heads to the Parliament today, and he will be presenting the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025. The financial year kicks off on April the 1st, and of course it is another period of reflection as to see what has in fact been achieved over the previous financial year and what the government hopes to achieve in the upcoming financial year. And so it's effectively a two-part process. The laying of the estimates is actually laying out all the details regarding government expenditure to the House. And of course that is the first process, and there will be this afternoon, I think at about 5 o'clock, the explanation of what is encapsulated in the estimates for the upcoming financial year. Now, of course, we well appreciate many of the issues that are facing countries around the world and have been facing countries around the world. Of course, coming out of that period of COVID-19 in the 2020s, 2021s, and then seeing a period of rebound, significant rebound in 2021, 2022. And then, of course, as things are now more stabilized, and you're seeing growth leveling off and getting back to what may be considered a more normal range of economic growth. And of course, the other issues are still facing many, many countries around the world, exacerbated by issues with supply chain logistics that had been disrupted significantly during COVID-19, shifts in production. We're seeing lots of a soaring of demand, leading to very high inflation rates. That has not been helped by conflicts in very productive regions such as Ukraine, which has also led to, again, these knock-on effects of, especially in the agriculture and the food sectors and in other sectors too, suffering as a result of that. And so we're seeing significant inflation issues all around the world, with food prices in particular headlining a lot of concern, not just in the developing world, but even and certainly in the developed world as well, from Europe to the United States of America to Canada. The cries of food prices are something that you will find being very topical for all. And so within that context, certainly we've been talking about the impact of inflation, and it's a major problem for some countries that have had long-standing problems with inflation. For instance, Argentina, which has been going from one crisis to the next for the better part of perhaps over 2 decades now, over 2 decades in fact, is again trying to tackle this issue of inflation. And A lot of it they say is in fact also tied to the issues of government and how a lot of their government is and economy is tied to state enterprises. The state has its own challenges to bring in investment. It's not being able to keep up with doing that, and it's finding itself very difficult. Even though here you have a massive country like Argentina, quite often seen as one of the leading economies of Latin America, lots of fertile arable land, vast amounts of mineral wealth, and still finding itself in a situation where it was seeing inflation rates in the hundreds of percent per year. So that's clearly not where you want to end up at all when you look at some of these situations. And part of the challenge in Argentina, as has been pointed out, is that the government has been effectively running deficits, significant deficits. And so that has placed a tremendous challenge as to how government can respond to dealing with its debt situation. Effectively, the country's finances get sick, and people look at it and they think, oh boy, do I really want to invest in a country that I may not be guaranteed to actually get paid? I may not be guaranteed to ensure that my investment reaps its benefits. And that's a challenge there. So the public finances of a country does impact on the investment climate. And so it is certainly a very important aspect when we speak about our economic development. So yes, the state has a direct responsibility in terms of promoting investment and encouraging investment, but by its own actions too, investors also look at the state of government, how well the government is running, to be able to determine whether they want to invest or not. So it's certainly very important that we have, at least at an annual basis, a look at how our public finances are being managed, how well they are being run. And so over the next couple of weeks, that'll certainly be under scrutiny with respect to seeing how that is in fact panning out. And so many of the issues that we've heard about over the years, the concerns about debt, because we do appreciate that it is a challenge to have sufficient excess revenue to invest in capital programs. And so being able to do that often requires borrowing by government, and we've seen how that has become very politicized over the years, especially when we've seen very large amounts of money being borrowed. You can very easily go on spending spree sometimes, but at the end of the day, the state has to pay. And that's where there has to be a responsible approach towards public finances. It's especially when we see situations where governments are heading into general elections, there's that tendency to go on a spending spree. There's that tendency to want to be able to have lots of economic activity, and so that is sometimes driven by government spending, and of course at the end of it all, the big question is that spending redounding towards the benefit of economic growth, long-term sustained economic growth, and also is that spending making an impact on the lives of individuals within that country. So it has to be well thought out, and it needs to be very calculated in its approach. So let's hope we can get some of those details as we go in to see that estimates of revenue and expenditure for the upcoming financial year. Beyond that, of course, this first part, later on in the month of April, it's expected that the government will then bring forward what is known as the appropriation bill. And at that point, there will be a broader enunciation of government economic policy, what the government wants to be able to achieve. So this session really will be primarily about the numbers, the figures, the details regarding the various heads and the ministries, what projects will be, what will be spent on what projects. But in the appropriation bill debate, that's when you generally get the budget statement with a lot more detail about the economic measures that underpin some of those figures. So that's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll be taking in some of your calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom. And of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, you can call in to 452-3046. Again, that number is 452-3046. And you can also message in to our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. 724-0008. I think we've got a call coming in, so let's go to the phone lines at this time. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lunchroom, and what's on your plate today?
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
Hi, caller. How are you? You were being asked just yesterday. Another caller was asking about your whereabouts, making sure that you're okay.
I suppose so.
So you were missed.
I haven't called for a while now.
Yes. So you were certainly being missed.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Talking about the government budget, from last year they said that they're going to what the money they'll spend this year, the year 2024, would be infrastructure.
Yes.
So I don't know how, I haven't heard them yet. Probably later on I'll sit down there to listen to them. But there is roads. Well, I know from last year they start the police station in Grozile.
Right.
They start something to do with police station in Beaufort. They're doing the there's a big job they're doing there in the market, and Richard put in some small hut for the people that are selling on the road. But they have to be careful with that, because when you jump too much of these little huts together, and some of them will do cooking in there, you have to watch for fire.
Mm.
And well, this morning as the news, I heard they talking about vitalizing Castries, something for years they're talking about. But to vitalize Castries,
yes.
You will have to take something down to put something up, because Castries is already built up.
Yes,
it might not build up the way we wanted it, but you will have to take something down to put something up. How you deal vitalize Castries? Where about we have any space in Castries to put it up anything?
Yeah, well, caller, that is always the challenge, right? That you have a built-up area, and it's not performing perhaps as it should, or as it may have performed in the past. And And even what we define as that Castries, what are we talking about? Are we speaking about simply the downtown area of Castries? The city
you
center?
have a point there. You have a point there because from Tiroche, it's still Castries. I think even the valley.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, you have the district of Castries, which is the largest district on the island.
The central Castries,
but in
is
terms
what
of
most, when they say vitalized Castries, is what they're looking for.
Most times,
central Castries.
right? Most times, the conversation is about just the downtown area, but it has to be holistic. And the reality is, what you do in one area sometimes impacts on what happens in other areas. Part of the challenge of Castries is that it has somewhat lost its significance because you've found a more multipolar form of development occurring. You've got Rodney Bay being far more important in the north of the island in terms of economic activity. So you've seen a lot of people moving north.
The reason why Rodney Bay will be well developed because that was a blank canvas. Rodney Bay area. That was a blank canvas. You have a lot of advantage when you have the land and you to build up whatever you want to put here and there. But Castries itself, central Castries, although sooner or later we'll have to put quite a few buildings down. The CDC will have to come down, and they will have the spot to put whatever they want to put there.
No, well, you're right. But so the point is, yes, you have a lot of areas where you've got buildings which are dated. They perhaps have gone beyond their usefulness. They may not necessarily have any particular historic value, and so you've got to rebuild. You've got to at some point also modernize and improve the urban space, improve the feel of the place. The other challenge that you have with Castries is that you don't have a lot of green space, right? We don't really have tree-lined streets, and that would add to the ease of walking around. So there are a lot of different things that we have to tackle in terms of when we talk about revitalizing Castries. What does that exactly mean? Part of the challenge too, people not living in the city or not wanting to go to the city to conduct business.
Yeah, but even function. If you have a big function, you can keep a new big function in Castries. Where in Castries you're going to build some big function?
You mean in terms of like a cultural event or
a do or something big? Like a big do or something like that. You see anywhere in Castries? Well, the Paris Center, one time they used to keep one or two things there. I don't hear nothing about that Paris Center. So if they want to take it down and put something up there, I give them the idea.
Well, it's interesting because we have had attempts at revitalization, but then we have not gone all the way with some of them. So, for instance, the Blue Coral building, when it was, there was a whole process.
That was vacant for a long time.
Right, and remember there was a design competition to be
able
to...
That's a building I always appreciate. I used to like that building.
Right, it was...
Put it up in the 50s.
What was it, like the St. Lucia's first department store, right?
Yeah, it was like Florida.
By MNC.
You buy everything under one roof.
Right, and
very rare you would have find that in any other country. Not Barbados, not Trinidad. That was one of the first.
It was one of the first. I think Trinidad had a similar one on Independence Square.
Trinidad had what you call high-low and those places.
No, but even on I can't remember the name of the building, but there was this department store building that they had on Independence Square. But it was similar to this.
Oh, that
it was knocked down.
Well, they had more office in that building. That's the big thing.
Yeah, but anyways, right. So you had this regeneration attempt with the Blue Coral building, right? And to create opportunities for stores and what have you. But part of it was looking at how we can have spaces for dining, right? So there was a rooftop dining restaurant that was part of the design.
Even now,
and then
I think there's a restaurant in the Blue Coral.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a small, what is it, a sort of a food court area. I'm not too sure that it does that well. But there was, in addition to that, on the roof of it, on the top level, there was actually supposed to have been a fine dining restaurant and with an art gallery as well. And there was supposed to have been a theater space. Now, unfortunately, the theater never got going, right?
But
it was built out. It was built out with a 360 seat. It was supposed to have been a 360 seat theater space, which is coming to what you're talking about. And where do you have events and those types of shows? Of course, you still have the cultural center, and that's been another big discussion. Do we need what to do with this structure, which was given to us back in 1984, I believe it was, by the French, which was supposed to have been a temporary structure. So yes, here we have a city that's our capital, but we don't actually have a proper National Performing Arts Center or theater. There's no National Museum. There's certain institutions and spaces that would certainly be important for all of these.
Have to point out because I said it on your show and I said it on other show. When you go to Latok, the old Golden Hope, that they're rotting, make out of bricks and such a place there, we could have had a museum. And even I did said that to vitalize Castries and building the wharf, building Latok, we could have just bring that Golden Hope as a museum, because the people could just walk up the hill and they're there. And we have it rotting. St. Lucia always spoil everything, even fruits and food and houses. We're spoiling everything. We don't do because that building, and there's a lot of building there because they had the woman prison there as well.
Yeah, and I think there is actually an attempt right now to look at doing exactly what you're talking about.
Your show, I said it a long time. I pointing it out. That's a good building. It's just doing the infrastructure in that building and do it the way, because when you do showing artifacts and things like that, you cannot let the people go too close. So you build it to the design that the people look at the thing, but they don't touch it, because if you allow them to touch it, you will miss a lot of pieces in a short time.
Indeed. So I think definitely there has to be a overall plan as to how this is going to happen. And we sometimes do plans, and those plans are hardly ever implemented. And I think that is part of the challenge.
Yeah, sometimes something I might see or I might point out, you might not point it out. And sometimes the thing you will come with, a lot of people don't never even think of it.
Well, that is true as well. Yes, certainly. So, I mean, in looking at a space like Castries, and we speak about revitalization, you've got to look at what are the assets that you have, what are the strengths of the city, and of course, in the case of Castries, the harbor area is a great opportunity. You have lovely views because of the hills. You do have greenery from a distance, and which could potentially be capitalized upon. You've got a river, which
the river, I bring that up a long time. I bring it up on your show as well, is to put a decking, go high up enough that the volume of water don't affect the deck, and you put a deck in, and you could cars could park on that river.
Well, I don't know about that part, but I know what you're saying. So basically, what you're saying is to cover it up.
Cover it up, put deck in.
Well, and there's been a shift away from that because a lot of cities after World War II actually did exactly that. They actually just covered up their rivers because they believed that the river was just like a sewer, like a drain, basically.
Well, it's something I see happen. That's the reason why I'm saying it.
And so they literally just went and they usually put roads or highways over these rivers, but actually you're finding a reversal of that happening of late, so that they in fact are looking to use the river now as a focal point, as a place where they can green the areas, creating river walks, creating areas where people can actually enjoy.
So that could come in the plan as revitalizing Castries.
So, well, exactly. And so you'd have to find other ways, other places for parking, but not necessarily the river itself. So it needs to be looked at in a modern way, in a holistic way, and to look at the challenges that, of course, exist in terms of
so far what
drainage, in
rubbish,
terms of
all the rubbish that coming down the river and all the rubbish they sell, plastic and every damn thing. So we could do a little better.
Certainly, we can do far better when it comes to that. And the issues of solid waste management within the city
Anyhow, good
catchment.
afternoon, Mr. Judge.
Big issue there.
I'm back.
Thanks very much for that. Good to know that, caller. Have a good one. And we actually are due to take in our weather report, so I think we'll just take a break for that at this time.
Island Style's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Cash Street, Rodney Bay, or Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's what, of course, the 1.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talembach. Winds will be forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east, southeast, and south near 9 miles per hour or 15 kilometers per hour, becoming lighter and variable or calm at times. The weather fair to partly cloudy with a few brief showers. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy to cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers over the Leeward Islands and northern Windward Islands. Further south, fair to partly cloudy with a few brief showers. And the weather summary, light and variable winds are expected across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next couple of days. Moisture and instability associated with a low-level trough will cause cloudiness with scattered showers over the northern portion of the Lesser Antilles during the next 24 hours. Generally dry and stable conditions will persist over the southern half of the region during the forecast period. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talembach.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Cash Street, Rodney Bay, or Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. It's 20 minutes before the hour of 2 o'clock. And of course, we're trying to take in your calls to find out what's on your plate today, this Tuesday. And we're going to head back to the phone lines. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Good afternoon, Mr. George. How are you?
Very good, thank you, caller. How about yourself?
I'm not hearing you clearly. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you very loud and clear.
Okay. How are you? How was your weekend? How was your family?
Very good. They're good, thank you. Thanks very much for asking.
All right. Well, of course, we heard the broad approach to the ensuing budget, Yeah. Infrastructure, okay?
Well, that's what we've heard thus far, yes, and we've been hearing about this emphasis on infrastructure this coming year.
And, you know, and you outlined quite articulately the challenges that we face. Some of them not really fully under our control, like inflation and so on and so forth. And yeah, but Mr. George, you know, given that we're going to do a lot of infrastructure, so we're talking a lot of capital expenditure, no?
That's correct.
Now, given for years, administration after administration, the shoddy, performance with regards to capital expenditure, I think we should really look seriously at the issues we need to focus on with regards to implementing of projects in this country. By that, we have failed miserably with the issues of transparency, reporting, and accountability. Agreed?
Agreed.
And that has resulted in maybe on an average much less than 25% of what we plan to do coming through. So I think from the outset, we must be clear. The government must come straight and clear to the people of St. Lucia. The cost, the estimated cost of project,
right?
The lifespan of projects, the funding of projects,
funding sources, yes, yeah,
and the commitment to report, not just when people ask for what's going on, that you scurry around.
Scheduled reporting.
My brother, I don't know what is going on because, governance in this in this country, they are that area is the one that's least progressive, in terms of they tell us, okay, they tell our children, everybody, computer for everybody, laptop for everybody. We must get in tune with the teaching in the digital era, this and that and that. And
but you
I don't know, it passes our governance by, You know what I'm saying? Because what do I see happening year after year? For how many years now, as long as I've been following budgets, is that people who are elected and accountable to the people who elect them, they hardly spend the requisite time on speaking to these people, their constituents. Mostly all of them are ministers, And they come and speak more about the tenure in as minister of this and minister of that, what the ministry did, what the ministry that, what the ministry did. Yeah, I'm not saying that's okay. But I would think, Mr. George, that we must change. There must be a paradigm shift. We must change that mindset. Let the Prime Minister outline the overriding performance of the government in terms of the sectors. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be health, whatever. And the reps of the people who voted them in, must uplift the standard of governance they provide for these people. Calix, you there? You listening?
I'm listening to you, caller.
But you're not saying nothing.
No, but I'm not allowing you to speak. You're enunciating it so very well. So, I mean, why should I interrupt you? But I agree with what you're saying.
You're engaging the other gentleman.
No, I agree with what you're saying completely.
Okay. All right. So you don't stop me when you don't agree.
What I think though is that, I mean, most MPs who are ministers they can ask for more time, and I think they normally do. And I agree with you, they spend the majority of their time giving details as to their ministerial responsibilities. And then they will then give some time, maybe sometimes they rush at the end to explain what's going on at the local level, which I think is what you're suggesting.
My brother.
But I think in addition to that, caller, they should not end there. The member of parliament should make it his business to also go on the ground, or her business to go on the ground, to be able to have some town hall meetings, to be able to engage people, so that it's not just a one-way street of them putting out information on NTN, that individuals can have the opportunity to ask the questions, to be able to find out. Brother, that is very, very important.
But even that, I feel, could get to a level that's okay. That's okay. I love that. That's okay. We come, we meet you all, we talk. But the feedback you give us doesn't necessarily impact. It doesn't influence the decisions we say.
Okay. And you know what,
you understand? And really, you have no recourse.
True.
You have no recourse. I mean, you because you've been there, you talk to them. Look at how many things have been said. The gentleman said he called and talk about
the
revitalizing his perspective of it. How many times, how many years ago, and it's still not being taken on. But what I'm saying that, as a matter of policy, the government, the head of the government, must impose a level of standard on, his crew. Because, Calix, how many representatives of the various constituencies you think have an idea what the population of the constituency they represent?
Oh, I think they should have a good idea. They should have a very good idea, because they should know.
You understand the demography?
They should know
what's the poverty levels and all.
Okay. Well, that's a different matter now. You're talking about how well do they understand the overall relay of the land for their own constituency.
It's all good and well to come and tell people, okay, look, the government built railroads such and such a place, and if you see how spick and span that roads are, but then nobody comes and tell you, as a result of building these roads, 15 new businesses have been established.
Right. Impact.
Creating how many jobs? Because this is what a budget really is supposed to be your main instrument for driving growth, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have. We don't have, our hands tied with regard to monetary policy.
We are not looking.
So when you build a road
impact
in an area, and you cannot come in absolute terms and tell people that this and this was created, because that's how you measure. Mm-hmm. These things are measurable,
Of
indicators.
Course.
And you have the technology, you have the tools to do these things,
Agreed.
To say how many business places you build a water facility, increase the resource, the thing of water or whatever, and then you cannot come and show. So you just come next year and say, "Oh, we build this and we build that." So it becomes a monotonous thing every year. We fix up the health center, we fix up the police station, and come and show me how it's impacted on crime in terms of numbers,
Right.
indicators, you know what I mean? What it was and what it is now. Because you don't just fix police stations just to make police more comfortable, but you have an underlying goal or overarching goal that you want to impact on crime or whatever. So, colleagues, we don't do these things. We don't push these reps to that, We don't hold that kind of thing so that they could tell you how whatever they build, the impact of it. These things are measurable, colleagues.
You're very, very correct, caller.
Yeah, and we don't have none of that kind of analysis going. So we
Well,
kinda,
the funny thing is,
we kind of stuck in gear, that thing we call in democracy, and we had a budget and we pass it, and we
but
come
caller,
and talk. Did yeah, they didn't have that, now they have it there, and
but the budget.
disgusting.
No, but what I was going to tell you, caller, is that the budget process now, in terms of even the documents that exist now and how it's framed, makes provision for doing exactly what you're talking about. What are the performance metrics? And you're very correct. It cannot just be just putting down brick and mortar. It is. I mean, that is just but one aspect of what you're trying to achieve. Because you could put up a building, and what if you can't maintain that building?
I'm not hearing you clearly somehow.
I'm not sure why. Are you hearing me any better now?
Yeah.
I said you could put up a building, but if you don't have the means to maintain that building, if you don't have
there you go. That is another aspect. That is another aspect.
If you don't have
if
you don't have the staffing to be able to support the work that's going on,
we have failed them
if it is,
miserably.
there has to be it has to be driven towards a true metric as to what are we trying to achieve. What are we trying to achieve?
So in other words, you buy what I'm selling there because you put a facility in a particular place. Whether it be a hospital, it's in a certain area.
You may find
and you have to be able to show how that thing benefits, because you want the economy to grow ultimately, albeit it might be a social intervention, but still towards improving people's standard of living, whatever, so that the economy will grow. So that will give you a better capacity to meet the recurrent costs of management of these things you put up.
Precisely.
You understand?
You want to be broadening your economic base.
And you go begging people and say, they give you a loan to build it that, well, we really can't manage it, we need another $60 million. Like classic example is our sports facilities. Anytime World Cup something comes along, you have to cough out how many millions of dollars.
Right.
You know what I mean? And most of that money is loans. Or,
yes.
To come and just have the event. Nobody's coming and say, well, this has created that kind of thing in the economy. And I'm not using that against hosting World Cup or nothing, so
No, I understand what you're saying.
You understand, don't get me wrong. Because a lot of people use that as their weapon against no carnival and things, because what we spending money on carnival for people to do. Because it's because of that same reason. We cannot seriously, we could just throw things around and say, well, these people benefit, and that is we're not showing it in a way, methodological way of making people understand and improving people's capacity to be with the whole thrust of development.
Mm.
We're keeping people as mendicants, my brother, and sycophants. That, bossman, when you go fix up that path first, that, look at how it is. It has some big holes. The sidewalk has some big holes. And if somebody foot break in it,
Yeah.
And when they do it, they say, okay, they used to say, we're not fixing it. We fix it this year. And they beat their chest. And they're going again, hey, see you next year.
But you see,
And
caller,
the rest of the year, they don't come and
we
pick up the people at all and say, be with the people who put them there, The rest of the year, they're on a plane everywhere as minister of this, minister of that. You see them on TV as minister of this, minister of that, minister of that. Nobody has rep for this place and rep for that place and rep for that place. Well, you see that? We need to change that. We need to make them people own up to and go to a higher heights, in kind of governance. And this kind of thing, I'm saying you have big ceremony and saying you have local government. You put one or two of your cronies and your goonies, to to just keep the people, subdued in your interests, and you call it Tongues and Village Council, huh? You understand that? Boy, our governance really, really poor. The people must demand more, and this is why I screw on partisan politics, man, because partisan politics just leading the people focus in one direction. Gouvernement gouvernement change you. Let's change them. Bam, bam, bam. And we go on, bringing down each other, fighting down each other because one is supporting one side, and then we're not seeing the bigger picture and demanding generally. Not just demanding, but
you see, the point I wanted to make, caller, is that we have been fed a certain kind of politics and a certain expectation as to what government is supposed to provide. So you see the same point that you're making about, we measure the performance of government by what they build, and that has been a tradition that. And politicians say, "Oh, we build this and what we build that."
How it impacts people's lives.
Yes, I know, but that is not.
Doing.
That's what we should be doing. But unfortunately, we've gotten to this point where we expect, boy, it's all about what has been put up, it's a more of a almost like a glugger kind of thing. It's interesting because look at this debate about recently. I was hearing something about
where
about St. Jude and which St. Jude to build, and somebody was saying, well, the box had a helipad, so therefore the helipad,
and all this
and then you ask yourself, but really, we don't even own a helicopter as a country that can handle those types of transfers. So what kind of utility would you get out of that? And if you were to even buy that helicopter, how many other ambulances would you have been able to purchase? If you to be or other services that you would have been able to provide. So we get
that stadium. We fought a stadium to groom our athletes. In spite of that, there are people like Twatine and people who committed Dixon with the high jumper.
But caller, even that
Twatine
yes,
and these people
yes.
who stick with it, and with these people, and give up a lot, sacrifice a lot to see these people come thus far. And then when they reach a certain level, the ministers go and meet them on the airport and say, oh, she's from my constituency, and nobody talks about those coming. Because where Julian come from, they have more coming in the back, what happened to them? What happened to them? They don't have a proper stadium to go and thing.
Yep.
Boy,
Well,
my brother.
Thanks for that, caller. We'll have to leave it there because
maybe it's too late to even talk to them people about all these things I've been saying there, but sometimes nobody wants to hear what you have to say because it's come like you're putting them on spot, and it's an embarrassment to them because they have all the high-powered, advisors and consultants and things. But tell them, so who always there, available to share in what life has taught him, free of charge. So let them do what they're doing with all the high-powered people all around them. You understand?
Much appreciated, caller. Have a good one. All right, and that brings us right up to 2 o'clock, believe it or not. But we, of course, will be continuing the conversation. As I mentioned this afternoon, the presentation of the estimates of revenue and of expenditure for the upcoming financial year will be on at 5 o'clock. And so we're going to be following that, so to give you some updates tomorrow on our program as to pretty much what was said and some analysis of the same. So we hope that you can join us for that, God willing. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.